Greetings everyone, welcome to episode 8 of this Make a Game series in Unreal Engine 4. In this video, first of all I'm going to showcase that you can make a custom mouse cursor, even though from the format I was using, which is JPEG, it is harder than I thought, especially with the shit I was compiling. But yeah, all you need to do is to set the material to be a user interface material and to mask it. Create a new widget, and what I did here is I removed the canvas and brought out an image alone. I set it to desired on the screen, that it should only be like the actual size on the screen, any screen, the same size on any screen. And I set it to a specific width and height, 20 by 20. And after that, you might want to go to project settings, where if you scroll down you should see user interface. Under software cursors, which is the cursors for the gameplay, you can select defaults and select the widgets you want to choose. Now that we're done with that, I actually wanted to go into widgets. And so before we get into widgets, I actually wanted to show you that the mouse cursor actually does apply. You see here that we are playing with the mouse cursor. The mouse cursor is there. Mouse cursor is custom. The masking is a different thing, but because I didn't want to do anything with shaders, since I don't like shaders companion for this laptop, yeah, can you show? But now let's head on to widgets. First, right click, go to user interface, select widget blueprints. You can name the widget anything. I named it gameplay UI. Double click it and it should open up a new window. And here is the widgets UI, or the widgets UI blueprint. And you can also right click tabs to hide or do anything with them. But here you have the palette, the hierarchy, the animations, the timeline, the details panel, and even the graph. So you can even add scripts to the UI elements as well, which is even what we're going to do. So first, let's start off by adding a text into the scene. I actually left the canvas there, which is actually a good trick, so that it could scale up everything inside the canvas to any size, especially if you do it full screen. You can also set the font. You can say anything, but I like small skinny fonts. So I set the size to 20 and made the text value score with semicolon. You can press Ctrl plus W to duplicate the text, which I did, and the score semicolon. Well, this text is actually going to be the actual score, but you might have realized that we can only edit it in the editor. You can only change it in the editor. But there's something called bind, which we can create a binding for the value of anything that says bind, even for images. So in order to get the main character, first let's make the score variable itself. And we'll make this score variable an integer, a single variable integer, and default value will be 0 because it is 0. And to get the player character, let's do cast to main character, which I explained before. It will check if two objects are the same. If the player character is the main character, then it will go through the normal execution pin, and we will get the score. And you can actually just drag and drop the node from there to there to the return value to bring out a to text integer node, which is to make things just basically add two quotes into basically just add two quotes plus a variable. And in order to actually see those widgets, we need to spawn a node called create widgets, and we'll select the class as gameplay UI, and we'll add that to the viewport so that we can always be seeing it, and we'll add it in the event with gameplay because we only want it to do once unless you want changes to the UI and stuff. And if you play it, you would see that the text is actually there. But what I want to do now is to make the enemies increment the score every time we destroy the enemy. And also there's a little icon for you to pop up that other content browser. So double click the enemy, open the enemy blueprints, and we'll just delete the print string stuff since we don't need it. We're coming to a close for this series. And what I want to do now is to go to the true node. If the health is less than or equals to 0, we will cast to the main character again. This time we'll be casting to the main character with the player character's condition. And let's move the destroy actor for some space. And we'll increment the ints. Blueprint incrementing just means adding it by 1 and setting that variable to that return value. And we'll increment the int so that every time it will increment the int and then destroy itself. And so if we're playing now, if you destroy the actor, the enemy, as you can see the score changes real time, and we can have +1, +3, to keep on going like that. And this time instead of just having the score alone, we know our player has health, but if it's actually published, we won't know what the health is. So let's make a progress bar as a health bar. I set the color to that, and for the percentage you can also bind the value. This time we're binding the value to the main character's health, which you will see here in a few seconds. We'll get the health, but instead of just plugging it straight, we have to divide it. That's because the min and max of a progress bar is 0 to 1, and so if we divide it by the total health of the player, it will be like 0 to 1 since it's percentages. And so it will look no different. It won't look like so upscaling. And so if we let the enemy hit the player here, if we let those two enemies hit the player, as you can see the progress bar is reducing. So you can use progress bars as a health bar, and you don't have to print a string to see the health. And you can also design a bunch of stuff with progress bar. It's very flexible. You can play with it if you want. I encourage you to play with it. And if we see here, the progress bar is like that. So that should be all. In the next video I will discuss about the actual menu, intro, this, that, and other necessary widgets. That's actually very necessary because we can't assume that the player has a Windows key. We can't assume that the player has a Windows key, so we have to make an exit button and all sorts of stuff. But that's for the next video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want, you can subscribe, you can comment, and I hope you visit the next one. Keep watching the other videos, and goodbye.